I haven't really talked about this much. Um, Something that really only a couple of people kind of know the whole story, but um, back in 2009, maybe 2010, I got an email, and the email was, "Hey, my name is John. I'm a director, producer. I'm putting this film together, and I saw your web series, and I really want you to be one of the leads in this movie." So I just kind of did some research and looked him up, and saw that he had some film credits and stuff, and found out that one of the other guys that was one of the three leads is someone that I knew, and had we have friends in common, all independent film actor people. So I was like, okay, and I talked to this guy, and he said, yeah, it sounds pretty good. So he wanted me to come out to Grand Rapids, which is an hour and 15 minutes away from us. I drove down there to do a reading with him, and it was fine. It was just a little weird because it was this tiny little house on the other side of the city, and I actually told my wife, I said, if you don't hear from me in 2 hours, then use the Find My Friends app on my phone, send the police there, but whatever. But it ended up being fine. Although when talking to my friend, who was one of the other guys who went over there for this this kind of informal audition, he made him take his shirt off, for this scene, which was a scene which the character had his shirt off. So I guess it wasn't that weird, but it was still pretty weird. So over the course of the next few weeks, me, the other guy, and then a third actor, we're all from the area, and this director, we would do conference calls, and we would talk about our characters, and we would do script read-throughs, and punch up the jokes here and there, and really just working on auditioning, and well, not really auditioning, working on just making it really good. The chemistry between the three of us lead actors, and then they brought in the extended cast, which was 8 or 10 other people who had smaller parts. So they asked me to said we have to be in Grand Rapids for 4 weeks. 4 weeks straight of just shooting nonstop. My work was really gracious and allowed me to use all 4 of my vacation weeks at the same time, consecutively, so that I could do this. They were really supportive and happy for me, and so I was all set to to go out there. And the guy kept pushing it back. He's like, oh, my uncle is in the hospital, and then he died, and we've got to push our start back a little bit, and then he got sick, or this director guy or something. I should also mention, not that it's germane to this story or anything like that, but this director guy is he doesn't have full use of his legs, so he's like just kind of walking like really bumpily, not so fluidly. I don't know what it's called, what his particular affliction is, but he was handicapped physically. So he and me and the other guys are like, look, we gotta we have to take work off. We can't just keep pushing it back and have this like floating month off, like just whenever we're ready to pull the trigger on it. We've got to make arrangements. We've got to some of the other guys were in jobs where they had to like pick up shifts and juggle stuff around like that. So finally a date is picked, and the whole cast, we all go out to to Grand Rapids, and we all meet at the hotel. And you know, it's really cool to see everybody. We do a read through in the lobby of or the in front of the fireplace in this hotel. We're doing read through. It's going great. And he's like, "Hey, can you put the first night of the hotel on you guys' own cards, and then tomorrow when the financier gets here, we'll switch it over, and we'll reimburse you for tonight's stay." So that was, you know, we were already kind of like on edge because of all the times got pushed back and all the things that really, you know, sounded suspicious. So, you know, me and a couple of the other guys, we just split a room, and we all, you know, crashed in a hotel room, because, you know, we were gonna get our own rooms for the rest of the month. Well, the next morning, you know, we're all, you know, down in the lobby ready to go, and the guy comes in, the director guy comes in, and he says, oh no, the funds didn't get transferred to the account yet, so, you know, I don't know what to do, and my other uncle is sick, and he's in the hospital, so I'm not sure what to do. And, you know, we've all taken time off work. We're all physically in the Grand Rapids area, and so we're really suspicious now. And you know, as we kind of chatted before even arriving, we were all kind of like, what's going on here? This is really odd. We were all feeling that this, you know, this probably was too good to be true, and that something was fishy, but we collectively said, let's just go for the first day or two just to figure things out, because, you know, we don't want this, you know, sitting out there forever, and just, you know, want to either be over with or you know, great, it works. But that was, you know, of course something else happened that morning. So we went, and like what he wanted us to do was to go get spray tans. It's like, oh, well, you have to have a spray tan so you show up better on camera. So we all went over and to this like local tanning place, and got spray tan, which is one of the top 5 worst experiences of my life. It's like you're breathing in silicone. It's gross. And then you're like hands up. Never mind. So we come back from that. The guy's like, hey, I've been on the phone with the investor, and he's saying that we'll have it tomorrow, but we just got to put the hotels on you guys' cards for one more night. And then, you know, that was kind of enough, and we're like, no, we're not doing that. What's going on here? And you know, he's like, what? I've been calling Marty. Marty was like the financier, all morning, and then he just can't get the funds. They're locked up right now. So us in the cast go up to the hotel room without the director guy, and we're saying, we should just leave. This is enough. And I was on board with that, but I was like, I need some answers and stuff. There was a knock on the door. Director guy came in, and he's talking. He's like, oh guys, I know this sucks. Let's just start filming, and then, you know, it's gonna happen. You know, we'll get the money, and we'll all be okay. And by the way, we were all promised like hefty paychecks for this. Not huge, but you know, in line with just any regular independent film. It was decent. It was enough to more than compensate for, you know, not being at work for a month, basically. So he he sits down on the bed, and one of the other actors, who's, you know, pretty physically intimidating, is like threatening to beat him up and get answers, and the guy's like, just like, you know how in cartoons like people are like profusely sweating? He was dripping sweat because he was like, I think he thought that this other guy was gonna just beat the crap out of him, and he may have, but, you know, I was probably one of the older people there, I grabbed him, I pulled him aside. It's like, hey, let's just talk this out. Said to the director guy, hey man, here's what you've told us. Here are all the reasons why we think that this is, this is false. And can you understand where we're coming from? Oh yeah, I know it sounds fishy and stuff like that. Oh, here's another thing. Judy Greer, the actress Judy Greer, who is from Michigan, was supposed to do a cameo in it because she was close personal friends of the director guy. So while he was downstairs, we kind of called the representation. Like, one of the guys had IMDb Pro and could get the representation of famous actors and stuff like that. Called Judy Greer's manager, publicist, whatever was available, and said, hey, here's the situation. Is she on her way to Grand Rapids or something? And their response was like, we have no idea what you're talking about. She's in LA, of course. So I mean, we knew that he was lying. So as he's sweating profusely, one of the guys grabs his phone, opens it, and looks at his call history. And the whole time for that day that he said he was calling Marty, the investor, it just said mom, 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 mom. So he showed that to him, and he just started crying and said, I had money, but it's gone. And we're like, you know what? We all put our lives on hold. We've got families. We've got jobs. Why would you do this? So he, apologized and said, just, give me a few more weeks, and I'll get the money back, and we'll, we can film this. We're like, none of us are going to do that. So he left the room. We all kind of just collectively sigh because finally we had the truth, but at the same time it was, it sucked, because we knew that this was not going to happen. As we went down, to the lobby and kind of, we wanted to talk to people behind the desk to explain the situation about the hotels. Like, hey, take our cards off it. So we went over there, and the person behind the desk said, oh, well, that guy who just, the director guy, just came over and said, put the rest of the rooms on our credit cards, as he was leaving. And, we were kind of feeling sorry for him, not really, but then we really didn't feel sorry. And one of the other guys was like, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if he just got out of the building and just started walking normal, like Kaiser Sose or, whatever. Because that's what it felt like. So we all left, said our goodbyes, and went home, and never really spoke about it too much because, it was embarrassing. Like, why in the world? It's kind of like catfishing, It was like we had, why would we have believed that this was going to happen and that it was a real thing? But, it just, so many times along the way, it felt like there was elements that were really real, and we wanted it to be so real that we ignored all of these red flags. Fortunately, I didn't, when they, the paperwork for doing the movie, I didn't put my social security number down. The other guys did, and I feel, pretty bad for them because, who knows what could happen. But, it was an experience. I came home and I had to tell my wife, like, hey, so all of this happened, and then I had to go and tell my work, hey, I know I asked for, this whole month off, but I'm gonna come back to work on Wednesday. I'm gonna take a day to chill, but yeah. So that's how I almost was a full-time actor for a month, and it's also how I was scammed. I didn't lose any money except for $30 for a spray tan, but yeah, it just it was an experience, and I don't know that I'll ever trust any, like if someone came to me today and it's like, hey, I love your video blogs on YouTube and I want to put you in something. I don't care who it is, I probably wouldn't believe them, and I would probably, I definitely wouldn't get a spray tan.